Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today we are going to be taking a look at Tekken the Board Game from Go On Board. We are going to be looking at how you play this game, the basics of combat, the card system, combos, the rage, the heat system, how the levels are different, and how the characters differ from one another. Hopefully this is enough to get you started, showcase a little bit of what this game is like, and there is plenty more to be found. If you like what you see here, I'd love to have you subscribe. Stick around. We're going to be doing a little bit more with Tekken the Board Game in the near future, so stay tuned for more of that. And you can check the link in the description below to head over to the Go On Board campaign, and you can pledge and you can follow along with it, and you can see what other surprises they have in store for you, all that cool stuff. Big thanks to Go On Board for sending this out. And if you haven't seen already, I am going to be teasing some of the miniatures. I've got an unboxing that is also coming that has a little bit of stuff that you probably haven't seen yet, so that's on hold for right now, but stay tuned for that. But yes, we're going to talk about everything you need to know to get you started in Tekken the Board Game, but there is a lot more. If you want to learn more beyond what you see here, you want to definitely check the link in the description below. Go follow this page, go follow the campaign over on GameFound, and see what else they have in store. It's very exciting. Let's go ahead and dive right in. So Tekken the Board Game is played with miniatures and a board, and there's lots of different boards that are all going to have different mechanics on how each level works. So not only is every fighter going to behave differently, each level is going to behave differently as well. Here we have Jin versus King, and we're going to show you a little bit about the board and the basic gameplay, and then get into some advanced parts that kind of expand upon basic gameplay. So whichever character you pick is going to have certain things. You're going to have a character miniature, which will start on the board, and your opponent will have one as well. You're also going to have a character board, and this is important because this is going to have a picture of your character as well as different combos that you can trigger. More on those in a moment, and 3 empty spaces for attacks. When it is your turn, you're going to start by playing a card face down onto one of these symbols, and your opponent will have to guess whether it is a high, medium, or low attack. What are attacks? What are high, medium, and low attacks? Well, let's look at the cards. Cards come in 4 different colors: yellow, red, green, and blue. These colors don't matter as much. They're there primarily for the combos. So don't worry too much about the colors right now. Focus on the 3 symbols we have, or the 3 spaces that are on here. We've got high attacks, which are always punches that deal 2 damage. So think of a single strike that is going to inflict 2 points of damage on your opponent. Mid levels, which are always going to be 2 moves, and a push. Think of pushing somebody back. That is important because you can push somebody into a wall and they'll take damage. We've got different types of walls here. If I were to push King and I pushed him back, if I were to push him back into the wall, he would take a damage. If I were to push him back into this sparking wall here, he would take 2 damage. So that's a cool thing about pushing. Plus, there are plenty of special combos and rage cards, and more on those in a minute, and different scenarios that are going to want you to move, that are going to want you to push somebody away from you or to be able to get behind somebody, and pushing is a way to do that. And then there are low attacks, which give you a move and a strike. Also, you're going to find on these cards a color-coded symbol. So just in case you're colorblind, yellow cards are going to have this little triangle symbol. Red cards are going to have a diamond. Blue cards are going to have a circle, and green cards are going to have a square. Kind of those symbols kind of going back to the Tekken's roots in video games, in it being like kind of controller from very, very reminiscent of game controllers, console controllers. Also, when you play a card, there will be symbols over here, and these are going to potentially chain to other ones. Now, these are Jin's special cards, but we have some, typical cards. The basic cards are going to chain to either another high, a medium, or a low. So what will basically happen is like this. After shuffling my deck, I'm going to draw 3 cards, and here we go. So look at that. I've got a high, a mid, and then another mid. Now, I know that I can trigger this combo later, but I don't have a red or green in my opening hand. So I'm going to hold off on that one. Maybe I don't want to start with a yellow. Maybe I want to start with this one. So I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to set this one face down, and I'm going to set it right here. And now it's up to my opponent to guess whether I've gone with a high, a mid, or a low. Now, they will know that, highs, for example, will deal strikes. I have to be adjacent to you to do that. If I'm not adjacent to you on the board, it's probably safe to guess that I'm not playing a high. So then they have to think I'm going with a medium or a low. If they guess right, I will reveal. If they guess right, that's bad for me. But if they guess incorrectly, then I get to keep going. And then I can chain this into the next one. But I will then draw another card and say, okay, well now, since this will be high, I'm going to play a high punch. But I will resolve these first. So I'll do 2 moves. I might push my opponent away. And then I can get right up next to him. And then I can move again, do my high strike, and start doing damage to somebody. However, if they guess incorrectly, they're going to get a punishment token, which will let them punish me back, and then they get to take over and start going immediately after me. But let's talk about damage, and then we'll get into punishment tokens. At the top of your game board, you are going to have basically your kind of heads-up display. This is the main menu for the game. We're going to have little life counters here that track. Every time I take damage, I'm going to move that down. Anytime my opponent takes damage, they'll move that down. We're also going to have a heat token. More on this in a minute, but these are basically once per round special bonuses. We're going to have certain recessed places here. If I win the first round, I get to put a little victory counter right there. And if I win the second, if we're doing 2 out of 3, we'll use these to kind of keep track of wins. I'm going to have my picture here, my opponent's picture here, and we have a nice little reference right here. So what does this mean? Well, let's talk about that. This is how many cards are in the basic deck. This is a reminder that a high attack is 2 damage, a middle attack is 2 moves and a push, and a low attack is a move and a single damage. And it tells you what colors of them are available. And again, every character will have all of these. But characters also tend to bring cards of their own. King, for example, will bring 2 extra highs that are yellow, a mid blue and a low blue. And Jin will have no extra blues to bring, but he will bring 2 extra highs, a green and a yellow, a mid yellow and a low red. These are going to be important because once your opponent plays their cards, they're gone. You only draw cards back up to 3 when you're done. And so this is a way for you to count cards, to know what's available, and to say, you know what, you've already played all of your highs. I know your next card can't be another high, so I don't have to worry about damage, and it gives you a better chance to counter somebody else. To the right of those, we have a spot for rage cards. Now, every character is going to have 2 different rage cards, and these are special bonuses that only will trigger once your health is in the red, and you can then trigger these. These are also once per round. You can only do these once, but they're very strong abilities. And there's, again, the rules will tell you, go into example on what everybody's rage does. But this is, if I can close to you, I can do 2 damage. This one is, if I can get behind you, I can do 3 damage. So again, these are going to depend on if you're playing more mobile, if the stage is going to allow you to do that, if it's going to be a smaller stage where you're tightened in, if there's going to be a lot of damaging spots on the ground that you might have to move through to get behind me. I wouldn't maybe want to play this card. Maybe I'd want to do this one. But you'll pick one and it'll put it face down. You'll return the other one to the box. Every character has 2 of those, and those are going to be slightly different. And again, you can only trigger those rage cards once you get into the red. You're also going to have a heat token. Let's talk about that a little bit. So at one point in the game, I can take my heat token, flip it over, and pull it down to my side. But before I can talk about how important this is, I need to talk about the punishment. What is punishment? So let's say I was running my combo and I went with mid first, and then I did play a top second. My opponent saw that the chain was top, so they figured, hey, you're going to get a bonus if you play top. I think you're going to play top. And they call that, and they guess correctly. Well, suddenly that cancels my attack, and now they get a punishment token. King now has a punishment token he can place, and that means he gets to play 1 card in that first spot of his chain. Now he takes over. He gets to do up to 3 in a row. He can now play a card like hitting me for 2, and I don't get to even have a chance at countering it. He just gets to play that with, basically consequence free. That's nasty for me because that can also push me into a wall if he doesn't go with, if he goes with, with a mid, or if he needs to get mobility or move behind me and push or something or a punch or do something like that, or to set up a combo. He now has a much easier time trying to do that. So now, for example, then he gets to go for his second attack, and maybe he wants to go with a mid and trigger this combo, and then so he plays that. If I guess mid, suddenly I interrupt, and yes, it's mid. I get the punishment token back. I then get to play a card interrupted. However, if I don't guess mid, then he gets to keep going, and then he can play a different card and resolve all of the effects, including the chain effects. And King also has some pretty cool combos that give him these special chains. Now, this is just an example of how every character has certain things that make them unique. This is one of King's special unique things. He's got these extra chains that can go here and make his ability to chain things a lot better if he's able to perform these combos. So these are very, very deadly for him. So that's something to think about. It can be extra damage, or it can be extra movement, allowing him to kind of close the gap and get into melee on you. So let's go back to Jin's earlier attack sequence. Let's just say I had chosen to activate my heat. I'll flip that over. I'm going to set this bar over here. Now I actually can make 4 attacks. This is where I'm going to just go with a relentless assault. I'm going to try and get 4 attacks in a row. And that's going to be a potentially devastating thing. That's why you can only do it once. And so I'll start playing cards, and in the same sequence, I'll play them face down. My opponent will guess. If they guess correctly, then normally that would interrupt me, and then they would take over. However, if they guess incorrectly, I can keep going. If they guess correctly when I have my heat down, I simply get a stun on the next spot. I discard the card, and I gain a stun on the next spot. But I get to keep going. I won't be able to trigger combos, but I can at least, it's a combo breaker, right? But I can at least keep playing more cards. And so maybe they don't guess that one, and then I get to go to the last one, or maybe they guess 2 in a row, and I get 2 stun tokens. I still get to try to get 4 attempts all in a row. That's a great way to force damage down. It's nice to maybe wait until they're very low in hopes that you can really confound them, frustrate them, and just hit them potentially 4 times in a row, especially if you've been saving high attack cards. But if you've been saving high attack cards, they may know that, and they say, hey, I'm just going to guess high, 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 high. So, but the good thing about stun is that it doesn't let them steal control, and it doesn't give them the punishment token. I also want to talk about stages, because we are showcasing the descent into subconscious stage in this particular example. But there are stages that have breakaway walls with extra pieces that can go on the side. There's stages with police cars and things like that. But this stage is where it actually collapses. So according to this stage, you'll shuffle one of these hazard cards into your deck, and when it is revealed, you stop and say boom, that has to trigger. And in this case, each player gets to place an extra cracked floor. You notice there's different cracked floor tiles here all throughout the center. So everything, the only place that's safe is the outside. What does a cracked floor mean? Well, because of course we can place additional cracked floors. Like I might put this like behind my opponent or something like that, and then he might put one directly where I'm standing, except I'm already on one, so he might put one behind me. So whenever you're standing on a cracked floor tile, one of the ones in the center or one of the extra ones that get placed as a result of this card, you're going to draw one of these tokens for every damage symbol in the attack chain while you're being attacked. Or they call it an attack string. So when you're attacking, I'm going to flip this over. I got 1. So this is a fall token. So it's getting weaker. 1. Oh, that's a blank. I'm okay. And let's say you hit me 4 times. So I 1, 2, and then the last one. Oh, it's the third. So once I get the third damage, the floor falls through. The floor falls through. And then what happens is we have to flip the whole board upside down. And remember which spots we're on. Boom, boom. We flip this whole board upside down. Boom. And when we were right here. All right. And then what happens is I just got hit. So then my opponent gets to punish. He gets to hit me again for free. Of course, I think we would have actually been right next to each other if we were fighting. So maybe a poor example of that, right? But yeah, so then he also gets to hit me with an extra, like an attack of opportunity. He gets a punish token, gets to hit me again. I can't defend against it. Even if he's already attacked 3 times, or even if he's already done his heat and attacked 4 times, he gets a punish token, gets to place it on the end, gets to attack 1 whole extra time, which is very, very nasty. And that will repeat over and over again because you can potentially still fall through into the next level. And if you fall through the next level, now notice on the second level there are fewer cracked spaces, so there's a few more safe spaces, but again, you might fall through a second time, in which case you would flip it back over, rinse, and repeat if the fight lasts that long. If you're beating on each other that hard, though, my guess is the fight won't last quite that long. And that's a brief look at how to play Tekken the board game. There's plenty more to discover. There's lots more characters, each with their own separate combo system, cards, rage cards, and an AI way that you can play with solo play. So there's a whole automated system that you can play if you don't want to play against another individual. But there's lots of characters, lots of cards, lots of stages as well, each with their own rules. You're not always falling through the ground. So there's plenty more for you to discover. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and big thanks to Go On Board for sending out this prototype. Keep in mind that, again, everything that we looked at in this video is a prototype and is subject to change. Definitely check the link in the description below so you can follow along and you can make your pledge and get your own copy of Tekken the board game with all the extras and goodies that are coming. It's a very exciting time. I want to thank you guys again. May the force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. So say we all, and always wash your socks.